Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. The following content may involve explicit language and materials, so listener discretion is advised.
Everybody, this is Harley. I primarily watch you on TikTok. That's where I get most of my stuff for you. And go check him out. He's got outstanding stuff. I mean, when people are like, no one ever thinks to do a video, no one ever thinks to take a picture. Well, guess what, sons of bitches? This fucker does. And he's got it on his stuff. So you can go see it. And it's not that Harley's posting these third rate or like cousin Bob's great aunt's uncle's cousin's brother's second whatever gave me this fuzzy photo. I mean, this is shit that he did it, like he filmed it. So to me that holds a lot more validation as far as evidence goes, instead of it being a person of a person or a repost of a repost. Like, this is, let's go ahead. As far as I remember, yeah, you had the Dogman. You were obviously in the woods. And you, from what I remember, you said it wasn't, I caught a glimpse of this thing between the bushes and the trees. I saw it. So if you wouldn't mind, even though it was the end of last week's episode, go ahead and go back into that. If you could give us as much detail as you can, just so that we can make sure that we're all starting on the same page.
Yes, absolutely. It was probably about 10, 15 yards away from me. And, by initially, whenever I thought I was going to run into a Bigfoot, that's what my first thought was. I was like, I'm going to run into a Bigfoot, because my phone had got zapped, as we Bigfoot researchers call it, where your electronic devices just get zapped of their battery. And I was like, because this happened during my first Bigfoot encounter, I was like, well, I'm going to run into another Bigfoot. And I was standing there and I seen it laying flat on the ground. It was dark brown. It had these bright yellow eyes, like illuminating yellow eyes. And it got up and it took 3 steps and it was right in front of me. And when I went back on a couple of days later to get measurements and stuff, and that was a 28-foot stride that it took in 3 steps. And I averaged it out. It was about an 8.5-foot stride per step.
I wanted to take it. Yeah, you're really tall and it's even bigger than you. I do want to take a second here just to clarify something. When you say it took 3 steps, do you mean it took 3 bipedal steps, like human like, or was it just
more? It was bipedal.
Bipedal. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we got that.
Whenever I first seen it, it was laying flat on the ground, but it pushed itself up off the ground with its forearms, and it took 3 steps, and it was right in front of me.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Like, you see, because it's making itself small, right? So it's kind of down. It's hunkered down.
Whenever I seen it laying there, it wasn't small. I mean, it just looked like a wolf. It looked like a.
Was there anything around it? Was it eating something or messing with anything, or was it literally just kind of appearing to be trying its best to blend in so you didn't see it?
Yeah, well, I heard a noise, and I can't really remember what noise it was I heard, because whenever I heard that noise, that was the direction that it came from. So I turned and I looked and I seen it. I don't know if it was a growl or what. I remember hearing some noise that made me turn around.
Well, I was just wondering, as far as it seems like a very weird way to be sitting when you come up on it, but I do know a lot of times when you see something that is more canid related, it'll get down on his belly, it puts his paws around it, kind of like my dog and his toy or his treats or whatever, and he's ripping something apart, maybe eating or chewing or teething.
I mean, like I said, when I went back a couple of days later, there wasn't no carcass there or anything from where it would be eaten, so I guess I just caught it and caught him off guard. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because there was no brush for it there to hide. It was just laid down behind this log, and all I could see was like the top half of it, his back and his ears and his eyes.
I just can't even imagine walking up. And in my mind, so I used to have Great Danes, and Apollo was my baby. He was about 200 pounds. When he stood up on 2 feet, he really was about 8 feet tall. So he was huge. He was about the size of these things.
Well, I figured it out. I figured it up because I got measurements on how big it was. It was a little over 8 feet tall, not including the ears, not including the top of its ears, just the top of its head. Oh my gosh.
And I'm just picturing, when he used to lay down with his haunches, and kind of hunker down. I can't even imagine being out in the wilderness and you see something even bigger than him. And he was very intimidating.
I figured this thing was probably about 500-600 pounds, if not bigger. It was
because I'm just thinking, because it's obviously pushing itself up. So I'm just trying to, in my mind, I don't even know what I would do besides pee my pants. to see this thing like slowly rise up, and you look at it and go, oh my god, it's getting bigger. But like,
Yeah,
is it ever gonna stop?
well, because I wasn't really fond. I didn't think Dogman was even a possibility until I caught some on film, and I was like, I hope I don't run into one of these things. And sure enough, I did. And I'm actually very familiar with this one, I believe, because I have it on camera.
Oh, that is.
It's almost identical to one I have on camera. I'm almost positive that it's the same one.
Oh, that is so crazy. So you said it got up and it took the 3 steps. Were the 3 steps it leaving, trying to evade you,
Oh
or
no,
was
it was
it
coming towards
at
me.
you?
It was
Okay,
coming
okay.
towards me.
What did you do?
I was just like, oh shit. Like, I mean, I just froze up, and like whenever I was looking at this thing's eyes, my life was like flashing before my
Yeah.
eyes, it was very scary. Like
So,
when you look into one of these things' eyes, there's no soul, no
yep.
intelligent, nothing, just kill. But when you look into a Bigfoot's eyes, there's something there behind those
Mhm.
eyes. That these dogmen, they're evil.
Yeah.
They're evil.
So I've heard with Matt, with my other Dogman encounter that I had here on the show a couple months ago. He had a very similar
Yeah.
structurally, only I think his was more like a black color and not like a dark brown. But he did say, those eyes were very distinctive. They were very, I guess you could say, soul piercing, almost
So
otherworldly, as opposed to being where Bigfoot, a lot of people see it, and it's almost like when you go to the zoo, which is a horrible example. I know a lot of people are against the zoo, but the only thing I can think of, I'm from the middle of nowhere, but you go to the zoo and say they have some sort of, I don't know, monkey, orangutan, ape,
primate,
gorilla,
right?
whatever, some sort of monkey thing. And you can look it in the eye and you can almost relate to it, even
Yes.
though, I mean, you can and you can't, but I understand what you're saying. It's almost like sometimes a softness, like it relates to you, you relate to it. There's some sort of connection there.
Well, that's the same way with it is with the Bigfoot, But if you
Yep.
go and look at the Sasquatch Genome Project, which there's a lot of ridicule behind that, and I don't understand why, because there's a lot of great researchers that put their dedication into that,
Mhm.
And the genome says that they're a human hybrid. The
Yeah.
mitochondrial DNA, which only comes from the mother of an organism, is a human mother.
Yeah.
And then the nuclear DNA is something completely unknown that is unknown to science.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things because from what I've heard about the Dogman, so a lot of people do like to, I guess, compare the encounters somewhat similarly with the two, but also very different. What I've gathered from talking to people with their encounters is Bigfoot is, they can be territorial, they can be aggressive if needed, but a lot of times they're kind of just
They're
doing their thing.
curious.
They
They're
see you and
curious.
they're like shit. They'd rather either kind of see you from a distance or just bail. They don't. Now, there's a couple encounters where they do kind of rock RVs or beat on houses or stuff like that. But for the most part, they do tend to be a little more docile. Whereas every Dogman encounter that I have heard of, it has been aggression, aggression, aggression. It is kill, attack. There is no in between.
There is no median. There is
And
no
there's
median.
yeah, and it's almost like there's no curiosity, there's no evaluation of the situation. It literally
It
sees
is a
something
killing
and it
machine.
attacks.
It is
Yes.
a killing machine. And whether I don't, I think some of them are cooked up by the powers that be. I think some of them are. I think that they've manipulated some of them weapon, not
Yeah.
all of them. I think some of them that our government has manipulated into weapons.
And it might be that you're right. There might be two different, I mean, I guess multiple different kinds depending on
Oh yeah, absolutely.
what theory. Kind of like the way I look at it is, say you have the original Dogman, werewolf, whatever. A lot of people are hellhound, whatever. People will kind of mesh them together a lot. And you have the
I
original
think
one.
that's all
And
the same thing. I think
yep.
it's all the same thing.
And I see some sort of, I don't know if I would necessarily say it started with government, but maybe the government's involved. They
Which
get this.
Dogman have been around since 400 BC.
Yeah. And so, like, this original thing, but I could see them taking it and then manipulating either the offspring of that or it itself to make them into these other things. So it's kind of like an offshoot that's created, but there's still that base gene. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, 100%. And I think that there is some kind of relationship between the Bigfoot and the Dogman. Since there's two apex predators in an ecosystem. I don't think that they fight. Now, the land between the lakes, that area is different. It's different. I think that those out there they fight.
I am
There's
having.
there's a graveyard that splits the north end of the lake and the south end. And there's the north end is all Dogman, or the north end might be all Bigfoot, and the south end's all Dogman. I may have that backwards, but a couple of good friends of mine, Daryl Denton and Mark Groves, they're from that area, and they are phenomenal researchers.
I just had this amazing, just astonishing picture in my mind. I'm picturing it's nighttime, kind of full moon. There's some dim light, like a low fog in this like old cemetery area. And on one side, you have the Bigfoot, and on the other, you have this Dogman, and they're trying to establish dominance of this area. And that would be, I've got to figure out how to make this some kind of merch, because that would be badass to see.
Yeah, yes, and I think that's the only place where they do that. Why, I don't know, because that might be territory reasons or whatnot. But I think that's one of the most concentrated places of sightings of them together, where they compete, like they fight and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it might be something like that. Because I mean, even in the wilderness, to say, I'm horrible with geography, maybe Africa. I think that's lions and hyenas, right? So
Yes.
the hyenas have their territory. It's kind of like the Lion King. Okay, we'll go with a kid show that everybody can relate to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You have the Pride Land where all the lions rule. But in that same generalized area, you have the hyenas and you have their darker elephant graveyard type territory. But at some point, if you do have two territories, there has to be some line to differentiate the two. So they're going to butt up together. And whether you have a young, unexperienced, or maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? When you go against the rules.
Yes.
I guess kind of like, when you like deviant, like some deviant something. It's just, it's whatever. It doesn't want to follow the rules. And it maybe wanders into the other one's territory. I can see that being a thing where maybe it is just a juvenile or something that's just not very mature and hasn't realized the rules are there or where the lines are. So that might be why. Maybe they, in other areas, there's either more specialized differentiation between the lines, or maybe maybe there's like a gap where it's like, this is the safe zone. So you have Bigfoot territory, Dogman territory, this mile line in between, kind of like the watering hole in Africa. The watering hole is a safe place for everybody. Maybe that happens there, but that line either doesn't exist or is much smaller, so they do kind of butt in more often.
And that's what I've kind of gathered from them. Mark, if you can get Martin Groves on your show, he had an incredible Dogman encounter, and his story is true to a T, just like my stories are to the truth, and I'm telling you my eyewitness testimony. He had an encounter with several Dogman and Bigfoot.
And so I kind of want to go back here to your encounter where, so it takes the 3 steps and it comes towards you. What happens after that? Did something distract it? Like, basically, why are you still here? Like, what deflected it from basically eating you?
I ran like hell, but I think it eventually stopped chasing me. I don't know if it had a boundary or what, but it did stop at one point. And it really made me want to stop doing this. And then I was like, well, you know what? I got to keep doing this. I got unfinished business. I ain't going to let something like that stop me. Whether they can be killed or not, I don't know. But I'm going to expose the truth. So, and the powers that be trying to stop me. So.
Once you see this thing, okay, so I have some questions as far as technicalities. All right, so I know there's different variations, and a lot of people have different, speculations and stuff as far as what it looks like. So from what I've gathered with you describing, it literally was virtually a giant canine that just walked on 2 feet.
Yes.
There were aside from walking on 2 feet, it didn't have any other human characteristics. Is that right?
It had, most Dogman descriptions have the backwards facing legs. This thing had forward facing legs, like at the knees. How apparently their knees face backwards. This one's knees were facing forward. And I've had several people tell me that was a hybrid.
Yes, I was kind of wondering, because like I said, there's the Dogman and then there's werewolves. And to me, the biggest difference between the two basically is Dogmen do not, they cannot change back and forth in between the two, whereas a werewolf is said to go human form and wolf form.
I think that those, the one that can shape shift, I think those are skinwalkers. That's me personally. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. So
And
I would,
I think the stories of a werewolf, like just physically formed werewolf, are just Dogman. But I could be wrong. I mean, Dogman may be able to shapeshift or whatnot, but I don't know. I think they're just
because I'm
physically bound
wondering
to that.
if it can't shift from one to the other, then the whole concept of where anything doesn't exist. You have to have that fluctuation of species, I guess, to be a where anything, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And then there is the whole, now granted, folklore, who knows? I'd like to believe it's true, although I'm not really
Mhm.
sure the technicalities as far as, the full moon and that kind of a situation to where it's out of their control. But then there's also some people that say they can do it, they could do it on demand. There's different variations between the two. So I don't
Yes.
really, I know it's a lot to get into, so we probably won't get like too far into that. It was just something that I wanted to point out to see.
Yes.
So I watched American Werewolf in London a few months ago for the first time. And then there's, oh my gosh, and that one's just straight up wolf. So he goes from
Right.
human to straight wolf, which would possibly be something similar to what you saw.
Mhm.
But then there's, oh, what's the one? He changes and he's like in a room full of people. There's like computers. Oh my gosh, what is the name of that movie?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, any of the movies that depict a werewolf, those are pretty spot
Mm,
on to what a description of what a dog man is. I just wonder if these science fiction movies aren't trying to tell people, hey, these things are real. Because
yeah.
the dog man that I seen, it was dark brown, but there were some physical differences than what it would appear like in a movie. But it's pretty spot on. Like the werewolf of Van Helsing. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yes. I love that movie.
Well, take that for example,
Hmm.
and make the ears wider, almost like a German Shepherd's ears, and give it like a thick, bushy tail like a fox's. That's what I seen.
There's a few different ones because, like I said, there's that one from Van Helsing, but that one wasn't necessarily. Didn't it walk on two? Yeah, it walked on 2 feet. But then you also have again American Werewolf in London. You have the Twilight series,
Yes,
where they don't walk on 2 feet. They just literally go human
they're
to
a giant
giant
wolf.
wolf.
Mhm.
Yes, and so that kind of difference to me makes me wonder: are they the same? Are they similar? Maybe they're cousins. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
hell, my
that's
dog
where
can walk around on 2 feet.
that's kind of like where the skinwalker thing comes into
Hmm.
play. I think that the skinwalkers can maybe do like a giant wolf or something like that, something bigger, not bipedally though. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've never seen a
Yeah,
skinwalker, and hope to God I never do.
yeah, and then you've also got to factor in even aside from all of that, if it is something more like hellhound or more spiritual demonic where there
Yeah,
isn't any shifting necessary, it is just a demonic entity that looks like a giant ass dog.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
So
the funny thing is, so I go back to where the area was where I seen this thing, and there's an electromagnetic field in that area because my compass was spinning in circles.
huh.
I think electromagnetic fields and these cryptid creatures all tie in together. All
Because
of
I
it.
mean that would make sense why you do have so many sightings and you see them so often is maybe there is because of that, whether it either be that draws them to the area because of it or maybe that different field, which we're going to go a little crazy here a second, bear with me, maybe because of the difference in the magnetic field there could generate some sort of portal somewhere. So either direction, either it could be a
Mhm.
beacon like a moth to a flame
Yeah,
or some sort of gateway so people can get in and out.
yeah. And
um
I think the missing 411. I think they either it's a dog man attacking and killing these people, or they just walk into a portal and they're never seen again.
yeah, there's been lots of stories that I have seen or heard where these people are walking in an area like a wooded area that they have walked in a million times. They know the woods inside and out. They're walking behind their house and they're just walking, everything looks the same, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, there's a house here. This house doesn't belong here. It's never been here. But then they keep walking and then it's gone. And when they backtrack the same path, the house is gone. Almost like for a brief period, they did walk through some kind of window just briefly enough to be like, well, this is weird. But then when they
Yeah,
go back, they
exactly.
can't find it.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Crazy rabbit hole once you start looking
Yeah.
at the portals and all this other
Yes.
stuff, and then like the supernatural side of these creatures.
Hmm. And to me, there are so many different options out there, and hell, it could be more than one. I mean, there's nothing
Exactly.
saying that it has to be just one. Who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe, I mean, for all we know, like I said, there was the original, Dogman that they then captured and then mutated or whatever. And maybe that original one came from another dimension. We don't know.
Yeah, nobody knows. But, and I got to digging into this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but there is a laboratory that's close to me in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and this is where they made the nuclear bomb. And this company called CERN, I don't know if you're familiar with
I
them.
know CERN. Yeah.
Well, apparently they're in there, and apparently they've opened some kind of portal, and they can't get it to close. And these dogman-like creatures
Stranger
are coming
Things.
out of it. These dogman-like creatures are coming out of it, and they've got snipers set up shooting whatever come out of it.
I was just talking to somebody about the snipers, and they hadn't heard of it either. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" So
yeah, these dogman-like creatures are coming out of this portal that they can't close, and they're shedding bullets on them.
Huh. Interesting.
So it's pretty crazy. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard this from just a source that's close to me. He's a podcaster, so I don't want to get in trouble for saying
okay,
it,
it's okay. It's okay.
It's close.
We won't drag him into this.
No.
But it does. One thing that does kind of get to me as far as the concept of their being created or mutated or whatever is, if that's the case, why the hell are these people allowing them to get out? I mean, you would assume that the security would be so well that they couldn't get out and escape and people wouldn't see them, right?
I think they turn them loose.
But why?
Either population control or anything like that. Just a bear attack or an animal attack or all these other attacks.
Okay. What if them getting out and people seeing them is literally just a test? So think Jurassic World, which is, I know, a horrible example, but the guy trained the raptors, right? And so then
exactly.
they need to use the raptors, and they need to know, will the raptor respond to the cute guy on the motorcycle or whatever? Yeah. And maybe they're doing the same thing with this. It's like they're testing them to see, can we get them to come back? Can we get them to listen? Do they do what we want them to do?
And I heard a story too that they used Dogman in the Vietnam War, and then after the Vietnam War, they turned them loose in all the national parks. And shortly after that, that's when the Dogman attack happened in the LBL.
Okay, you just blew my mind. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay.
But now you know.
Huh. Interesting. I still want to ride one. I want a pet. Like, just saying. That'd be badass. But I do want to ask you too, because I know that you said that you've seen obviously more than one of these things, and we've covered the first one that you talked about. Can you tell us about another one that you've seen and kind of how that went?
Another Bigfoot?
Any of them?
Well, the Bigfoot, I've seen, now that I can confirm, I've seen 3. My first one was 2020. And, I didn't really get a good look at that one because he was so far away. And then my second encounter he was probably about 20, 25 yards away, and he was reddish brown. He had like a gray looking skin, almost like an orangutan. He was really wild looking. And then my third one, it was another one that was black. He was just jet black. His skin was black and everything.
Did you say these are all in the same area, right?
Oh yeah, this is all in the same area. The Dogman was further up the mountain, but the lower end of the mountains where I'm coming across the Bigfoot stuff, But I know that there is Bigfoot up in that area, and I think they're bigger because I've found like tree breaks that are like 15, 20 feet high. So
man, that's just
there are all sorts of different colors on film. I've got white ones, I've got gray ones. They're all different colors.
Which I wonder what might cause that.
I just think it's genome, just the genes, well, there's the diversity, like us humans, they're just different.
But I just figured if they're all in the same area, that they would at least be somewhat similar because they probably came from the same basic family unit, right? I mean, you would assume.
You would think so, but I think that they migrate. I think that they move from area to area, whether it be through portals or if they actually walk from place to place, So it's hard to say for certain.
So another question, the ones that you saw in varying colors, did they also vary in size by chance?
Oh yeah,
Like,
I've got an adult white one on film, and I've got a juvenile white one on film, and I've
okay.
also got an adult reddish brown one and a juvenile reddish brown one on film.
Okay. Well, what I was wondering is I didn't know if maybe the color was somewhat similar to maybe an age thing where they might molt or shed or whatever, change
Yeah,
colors.
yeah. I think that it don't matter how old they are. I
But yeah,
think
that doesn't make
they're
sense.
born.
Yeah.
Yeah, they so like I said, I had that white juvenile on film. I thought it was an adult at first, but then I got to looking at the area that it was in. I was like, this thing's tiny. That's a juvenile.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I've got's huge. It's at least 8, 9 foot tall. And then the other one, he
Whew.
was a little bitty. The other one, he was a little bit. I'd say he's probably 3, 4 foot tall.
So in this area, I mean, obviously we're not going to, pinpoint anything, but in the general vicinity, do you happen to have like a decent water source?
Oh yeah, there's a creek that runs off the
Okay.
mountain. Yep, there's a big creek and there's excellent cover. The laurel trees or laurel bushes, as people call them, they're green year round, and it's excellent cover for them to hide.
Okay. Well, I was just
So
wondering if
they've
maybe
got
that was the attraction. I mean, either the magnetic thing
there's
and
there's
or
there's plenty of food, there's plenty of water, there's plenty of cover, and I've actually found a nest just recently.
oh,
I found a Bigfoot nest. I'm almost positive it's what it is because it's in this laurel thicket, these bushes, and there's branches all broke out, and it's literally just like a big cubby hole, and there was beds in there. To my knowledge, bears don't do that or anything else. It takes something with
yeah.
hands to do this, and this is in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I don't think any hikers are going to go a mile, 2 miles off trail and do that.
Okay. So when you have the nest, is it okay? This is going to be kind of weird question. This is the only way I could put it
Mhm.
in my mind to understand. Is it kind of like a giant bird nest on the ground, or is it more of
It's
a
kind of like
dig
it's
a
kind of like a
hole?
it's kind of like a bird's nest on the ground, because
Okay.
they take these pine branches and they break the pine branches off with these pine needles on them, and they lay them on the ground for
Okay.
bedding. And
Okay.
they've got these laurel bushes that's above them, and they're super thick and they're green, and
Okay.
so it's pretty much like a giant umbrella that they're under.
So it's kind of similar to if you needed to make a like a makeshift tent or
Yeah,
campsite to
yeah,
just
exactly.
block natural stuff, but you just get lucky and the thicket is so thick that it saves you a lot of time and energy because you don't have to build the top half, you just have to build the bottom half.
Exactly. You're
Okay.
exactly right.
Do you know if there's any caves or caverns or anything around that area?
I have not found none yet,
Okay.
no, but there is a lot of quartz rock, and I think that quartz rock
Oh,
goes into the electromagnetic field as well.
yep.
That I actually had them throw another one at me. So I've got 2 quartz rocks that they've thrown at me so far.
I know quartz is huge, right? I mean, everybody talks about quartz, especially if it is such a large deposit of quartz and you have the water source. I mean, the water is energy, the quartz is
I
energy. So, have you experienced, aside from the, I guess, quote unquote, creatures, because I mean, like I said, it could be an animal, it could be a spirit, Lord knows. Have you encountered anything that seems to be more paranormal? Because that seems like it would be a hotbed for paranormal as well.
Well, there's a cemetery here, and as well as the area that I
Ah,
had my dogman encounter, there was 2 cemeteries. There's something going on there, and I don't do ghosts. I don't I
so
don't
I
do
need to
ghosts.
come down and I need to do the ghost hunt. You can deal with you.
Exactly.
Oh, we'll go together. You bring, I don't know, something loaded with silver bullets or whatever the hell you need to bring to take these suckers down.
Yeah.
I'll look for ghosts. You just keep the monsters off my back and we'll be
Okay.
okay.
Absolutely. That sounds like a game one. Yeah, you can deal with the ghosts. You can make
Because
friends with
those
them.
are fine. Those
Because
those
this
don't.
is the old one of these cemeteries is old. It's like from people from like the 1800s.
Oh my gosh, I would love to visit
But the
that.
other 2 cemeteries, like it shows them on the map, but there's
Mhm.
no gravestones or nothing. So they
Yeah.
they're old,
Old,
old.
yeah. We've got here locally, there's one that I don't even know if it's identified. We just know it's there because we're local and
Mhm.
it is in the middle of the woods. Off like it is creepy. People, I mean, anybody who goes out there, it's a wild ride for anybody. Everybody's like, dude, I wouldn't go back there if I were you. Like weird shit happens. And it is off to the side and very, very old.
Mhm.
So I was just wondering with all that. Okay, also because of the setup, uh now granted, from what it sounds like, it's pretty wooded, right? It's probably pretty covered area. So I would assume that maybe an alien extraterrestrial type thing would not be interested. Now the energy and stuff, yes, but I mean it'd be kind of hard to land a spaceship in the woods.
mountains. Yeah.
I mean,
in the
unless
mountains.
you talk to Travis Walton, then it doesn't really have to land in anything, does it?
No, no, it don't.
So do you know if there's any reports of anything related to aliens out there in your area?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a story somewhere from the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I mean, it's
Okay.
miles and miles of the Appalachian
Oh, yeah.
Mountains. There is so much mystery in these mountains. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me what's in it. Heck, there could be dinosaurs walking around up there for all we know.
Oh, what is it? Nakuno Mimbe or whatever? Isn't that
Mokele
the...
Mbembe.
Thank you. I can't ever pronounce anything right, except for like Jabafofi. I can get that one right. And I would crap my pants if I ever saw something like that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cover it at some point in case anybody's wondering. It's a giant spider, and I mean giant, like huge spider, like tarantula. Only yeah. So it's actually in Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, I believe. So it's in both. So you see the one spider and it hits, I don't know, the main little dwarfy guy in the chest and it like takes him down. That's Jabafofi.
Oh gosh. Nope.
Yeah.
No thanks. No thanks.
Yeah. And there was a video that looked like a baby one on film and it looks pretty legit. I was like, ain't no way. Let's see here. I know there's a lot of people that go, I guess squatching is what they call it. And they look for these things. I don't know what you would call dogman hunting. I don't dogging. I really, this sounds dirty. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Dogging.
That just sounds like something really bad. But as far as that goes, because you have had so much success finding these, aside from having a super badass area to look in, do you have any pointers or anything for anybody who might be, whether it be to find them, safety, whatever, to tell the people in case they do want to go to make sure that they are safe as they go out looking for these things?
You know, they are always watching. Don't ever, if you have the feeling of being watched, you're being watched. You know, it's going to be them. If you have that feeling of, you know, that you're being watched, it's 100% them. You know, that's from me knowing. I've been doing this since December 7th, and they're so intelligent. I mean, you could literally be walking right by one and you wouldn't even know it, because I have done that before on my film, and I've caught them on film and they'll be like 5-10 feet away from me and I didn't.
Oh my gosh. And see, to me, that is so crazy because they are so large. I don't see how anything, I mean, I can't go through the woods. I'm like 5'2". I mean, and I can't make it through anything without crack, you know, rustling of leaves. And once I get there, then, you know, you don't move. But if I was just walking through the woods, I can't just sneak up on anything. I haven't figured out how they managed to do that.
They're very, very smart and agile. I mean, that's their home. They know their terrain, and they take advantage of it.
So I wonder, I've not seen, I mean, obviously like an actual foot, right? Just curious. I know that you have multiple prints that you have seen, and does it appear from the print that they maybe have some sort of exceptional padding or something? Maybe they're like a panther, because panthers or jaguars are huge, but they can sneak up on anybody because their padding is so thick that they don't make a sound.
I think that they have very rough feet, you know, because they're out in the elements all the time and their feet are pretty rough. But you know, from where they're so heavy, they're going to leave an indentation, you know. But like I said, they're out there walking around the rocks and all the rough terrain, their feet's pretty well broke in.
Yeah, because what I was wondering is just as far as the footprints go, because I would imagine if something did have that really good padding under the feet, the shape of the print maybe would be a little like you would think of like the only thing I could think of is like a puff font, like something's puffy, so it's got like more of a rounded edge, so kind of, you know, because the cushion squishes and rolls out. But if it didn't have as thick of padding underneath it, or like a canine or whatever, they would be more of a sharp, clear print, like a human print. So that's why I was wondering if you've seen a lot that maybe appeared to have that extra padding, and maybe that gave them a little bit, which if you are wandering around, I mean, having that extra padding would be super beneficial, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, because there's bars and all this other stuff, like sharp rocks and all that other stuff, yeah, they've got to have super tough feet.
I just thought of something just really random, just curious. So you said that you've seen probably the same one multiple times, right? I wonder if there's anything that you could do to maybe coax them into putting their hand on something, in something, putting something on there to get specific prints. Can you identify them similar to like a fingerprint? Maybe they've got a cut or a scar that is the same.
That they could append. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I think I've established contact with them already because I took them a jar of peanut butter out there.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
I took it out there December 11th, and I just got it back a month ago. They brought me the jar back, and it was completely empty.
Refill, please.
Wherever I left it, I took the lid off of it, and I put a stick in it, and I ate the peanut butter to show it was good. And they brought it back to me, and I lived 30 minutes away from there, and they brought it to my house, and they set it on my back porch, and they put the lid back on it. Yeah, it was.
That is so crazy. Well, because I'm just wondering if there is a way to. But yeah, it'd be interesting too. Because I was just watching a show called Elementary. I love it. It's got Sherlock Holmes and all that stuff. There was a gun or something that had a fingerprint, and the fingerprint had like very distinctive cuts across two of the fingers, and he recognized those cuts as somebody he knew. So that was interesting to me.
I've thought about taking Play-Doh out there and seeing if they'll play with that or something that'll get their attention.
We're good. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, any evidence you got, send it over.
I'll send it to you. Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. If you wouldn't mind, please take a moment and rate and review the show wherever you're listening. I know it might not seem like much, but it greatly helps the show by allowing us to be found more easily when other listeners search for us. If you have a chance, head on over to www.patreon.com/Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy and become a patron. Members of the Big Show tier get bonus materials, personalized shout-outs, access to the private Discord server, and video versions of episodes, both regular and members only, that are raw and unedited. So they're always a good time. As an added thank you to the Big Show patrons, we also are going to be giving out custom stickers and mini prints after 3 months of membership. I'm currently offering a 7-day free trial, so head on over and see how awesome being a member can be. Before you go, click the link in the description and grab yourself or someone you know some of the self-designed merch, or make a donation to help keep the show going and fund future events and investigations. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and magnets can be found on the TeePublic site, and they have sales at least once a month. I believe it is 30 or 35% off. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly how much, but keep checking back and get them when they're discounts. They have $16 tees, and it's great. For handmade crochet items such as Nessie, Mothman, aliens, Fresno nightcrawlers, and the little ghosts, or a big ghost, as well as pants, swimwear, the best tumblers I have found yet as far as merch is concerned, dresses, office supplies, and more, visit the Square merch store. You can also follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. If you have any questions, topic recommendations, or personal encounters, please don't hesitate to send them in to cryptidscreepsandconspiracy@gmail.com or submit them through the contact form at www.cryptidscreepsandconspiracy.com. I would love to hear from you and share your experience on a special listener episode. Just make sure to specify that I have permission to add your encounter to the show, and let me know whether you would like to have your real name or an alias to maintain confidentiality. Thank you again so much for all your support, and I'll see you next time, my friend.